I'm the Wolfman, and you are listening to Wolf Entertainment Radio.
That is the Wolfman Hellmut Wolf. I am Don Bown, and welcome to another episode of What's My Name?
Now I'm feeling great, yeah. Living in the terror, I made my name, couldn't get any better. What's my name? What's my name?
On this episode of What's My Name, let me first take you back to COVID, when everything was shut down. No live entertainment. Thirsting for anything new during that depressing time, I came across a brilliant live online music festival featuring artists signed to one man's digital promotion label, Wolf Entertainment. It was called the Wave of Love Festival, and the brainchild of Hellmut Wolf. I was blown away by the variety and talent that was showcased, but was drawn right off the bat to one of the beginning artists, Benjamin Bolingeri from Australia, who has since become one of my dearest friends. Out of this friendship came the interest in what Hellmut Wolf was doing. Hellmut is a very rare breed in the music biz, and that he has a heart of gold, and is only interested in what is best for his artists, not his ego or pocketbook. I am much more than your average music freak, and Hellmut Wolf is the reason why I do this show. It was his encouragement that made this become reality, and not just something I've secretly dreamed of doing for years. His heart and love of music just encourages others to give their best, all for the love of music. So I am very proud and honored to bring you this show about the musician, producer, and mastermind behind Wolf Entertainment, Hellmut Wolf. Before our chat, let me first introduce you to his latest single, Outer Space. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wolfman himself, Hellmut Wolf. Well, we're here with the boss man himself, Mr. Hellmut Wolf, and want to discuss a little bit about the ending of 2024. Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you, Don, and Happy New Year to you.
Want to discuss a little bit. We had a little health issues with you and your wife. You had a hip replacement, and your wife had a little health issues there. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, as you said, I had a hip replacement. So I got the operation was 28th of October, and then I was 3 weeks in a rehabilitation place to learn to walk again and everything. And so it's going good. It's going really well. I'm happy with the progress.
Awesome.
And Melissa had a double embolism and a small heart attack, and also a lung infection. So all of that came together at the same time. So she stayed in hospital a couple of weeks, and then while I was in Germany getting the operation and the rehabilitations, she was here in kind of a center where, people kind of, when they're burned out or they come off an operation and stuff like that, they get just treated and not really treated anymore, but just taken care of. And so it was great that she had the opportunity to do that while I was away anyway.
Well, that's good. Well, let's start out here with the major announcement, the merger with Wolf Entertainment and Black Wall Street. How did that come about?
I met the CEO, JP King, about 8 months ago by another colleague out of the States. And it started basically with Wolf Entertainment doing distribution for the artists of Black Wall Street Records. And as we kept talking and meeting and, developing our relationship, we basically started to discuss how would it be if we would throw both labels, both companies together, because they have a lot of connections in terms of concerts and festivals, and also other live live playing organization. They also are doing a lot of work with cancer, giving money to cancer foundations and similar organizations. And so our relationship has grown since then. And then at some point we thought, well, why don't we just throw both organizations under one umbrella? And that's what we have done now. So the contracts have been signed, everything is moving forward. It was still early days how that actually practically is going to work, but we are talking, and we're talking with a whole bunch of situations and people who are running festivals and concerts and touring. And so that's really going to be the focus of the new part of what we're going to do. We really want to do a lot of festivals and concerts and touring over the next 2 years in England, which is great for us to have a foothold now over there, as well as in Europe, which is great for them to have a foothold over here, as well as in Africa, United States, Asia, and South America.
Awesome. So what are the benefits of this merger with the artists that you already have?
The benefits will be that we will be able to finance a lot more concerts, that we'll be able to finance the tours and the festivals, because this merger is going to is bringing kind of a windfall for both companies, because it's like, if you have one company has certain assets and then you have two companies, the assets kind of not just add up, they kind of multiply. And so we'll be able to raise a lot of funds to organize the festivals and the concerts.
Nice. So how did you get into this crazy business of music anyway?
I don't know. Look, as a kid growing up as the youngest of my family in Germany, West Germany back then, my father was Alfred. He was a violin player and a keyboarder. So we had a keyboard at home. So he was often Sunday mornings. He was, and it stood in the hallway. This little flat, and it stood in the hallway. He was just jamming away, So I think that's how it kind of started. And then my next older brother Peter, he was a drummer first, and then he switched over to guitar, and he's quite a good guitarist. And my oldest brother Alfred, he started first with the guitar, he dropped it later. He didn't take it very far. And my sister Dagmar, she was a singer, and she won some singing competitions, as a teenager and stuff. But then she also dropped out of it, and so I was the youngster of it. And then I was always very musical in high school and music lessons, and the teachers were always on my back, trying to get me to learn an instrument. And my sister was also a keyboarder, and I always watched her, and she always had, troubles rehearsing and not having rehearsed and so on. So it was a struggle for her, and I never wanted to get into that kind of struggle. So when they came, the music teachers, come on, you need to learn instruments, because they could see in the lessons that I was very musical, that I could, when we, analyze the symphony, I could hear what is what part, A, B, C, A, B, whatever. And I always said, no, I'm not interested. And then one day, I think he was called Linz, a music teacher called Herr Linz. And he came and he gave me a flute. And he said, here's a flute for you, and my wife will give you lessons for free. And I just couldn't say no to him.
Right.
And so I rocked up there, and every Wednesday afternoon, and she taught me how to get a sound out of that thing, where to put my fingers, taught me the basic scales and stuff. But it was all classical, orientated towards classical, which was not really what I was into at all. So after 3 months, I went to work in I think it was Easter school holidays, and made the money to buy my first on flute. And then I gave him the flute back and said, thank you very much for getting me started. And that was that. And so then that was the only lessons I had for 3 months at the very beginning. And after that, I knew where to put my fingers and how to get a sound out of it. And then I just played along with my records. Led Zeppelin 2 and Jethro Tull, of course, was a big hero. They were big heroes of mine, Ian Anderson. And I learned a funny thing by just listening. And it's a pentatonic, and that's basically the black keys on your keyboard. These 5 tones, you can apply pentatonic basically to any pop song or rock song, blues song, anything. It's all pentatonic. And then when you throw in a blue note or a couple of blue notes, so you get a little bit off the just purely pentatonic to make it a little bit more interesting. I found that out by listening and playing. And I found out this trick that in any key I can play using these pentatonic scales as a basis. I can jam basically with anything and anybody. And that's what I've been doing all my life. So what you hear now when I'm playing is basically still the same thing. I just did it a lot. So I got better at it.
Nice. So how'd you actually get involved in the business end of it? Didn't you work for a label at one time?
That took a long time. That was much later. I was just playing my whole life, in bands. And what to say? I mean, I was touring Europe. I was living in Holland. I was playing in various bands over the years. And then when I went to Australia, already in Holland, I had a studio there, so I recorded there, and I released 1 CD back then. I also made the music for 7 what was called social meditations. It's kind of a spiritual, find out who you are kind of commune where I lived in Holland. And in that environment, I made the music for these 7 meditations. But really in the business side of it more was when I was in Australia, and I was signed by a label there. And then I also worked for that label for a while, and found out basically that they're ripping everybody off. And then I started another label for another company in Australia, and that was a telephone. They had a telephone company, and they wanted to have a label associated with it for the young people that they get turned on to their telephone deals.
Wow.
So I started that and built it up over maybe 16 months. I had 120 people signed, a lot of my connections, and then they also ripped me off. And basically, I left there. Couldn't, let's say, sign anybody to my new organization than my own place, because that was part of the contract I had with them. So I had to basically start completely from scratch. And but in these, let's say, 2.5 years, I had learned a lot about, running a label. I had the distribution system set up, and I had learned a lot of people in the industry. So from playing live to starting Wolf Entertainment, which is now 14 years ago, it went by these steps. And really what happened when this other label, after they ripped me off and that they owed me a lot of money, but when I went to court, I won the court case, but the company I had the case with already had gone bankrupt, so I got zilch. Then Mark from my distributor Denmark, he sent me the logo of Wolf Entertainment that I still use now, and he said, it's time for you to do your own thing. And that's how Wolf Entertainment started.
Wow. That's very cool. I didn't realize all that. Well, let's talk about the evolution of the record industry from the days of brick and mortar stores, buying actual copies, to now all digital. I mean, can you discuss how that evolution came around?
Well, look, I guess everybody pretty much knows what happened. It went from, as you say, records and record stores. When I grew up, I liked the record. I used to hang out in record stores and listen to a bunch of records, and then the one, usually I could only afford one, that I really liked. I bought that, and I listened to that record for months and months and months, over and over and over. And then it moved to after CDs, and it was still a little bit similar. And then it moved to streaming, and then everything changed.
Right.
And so what can I say? Now people don't pay for music anymore. For the young people, it's completely weird, the idea to pay for music.
Right.
Because everything is free.
Do you think that the record industry missed the boat on digital?
No, because the big 5 major labels, they have about 89-90% of the market still, and they still make money. The thing is, now you have so many releases. You have about 120,000 releases a day on YouTube or iTunes or any of these platforms. So it's really hard to get your head above the rest and actually get people to listen to you. And I think that's a little bit what I've been trying to do, or what I've been doing with Wolf Entertainment, to just get more and more fans connected to the label and people listening to the label, so that when we have new releases, that actually they have an audience. And then people still decide if they want to hear it or not. Now, making money with these releases is a whole different ballgame, because you don't. It's pennies, it's really pennies. So I don't make my money with the releases or because there's hardly any downloads anymore. It's very little. Right. It's all streaming. I make my money with mixing and mastering and production. And I have done in the last 14 years since I run Wolf Entertainment any job you probably can think of to make ends meet. So it's changed a lot, in that sense that you really can make money now when you are a musician in concerts, touring, if you get your stuff into advertising or into films.
So how does the financial model work for artists that are signed to you? It's all through streaming, or are they? I've noticed also that, for example, Jack Strom, he manufactures his own CDs and stuff. I mean, are you involved in that? Do you get a cut of that, or do you give us that all theirs?
No, that's theirs.
Okay.
They pay for their own CDs and they sell them their own concerts,
Right.
I don't want to get involved with that, because that's their own investment. The financial thing works really bad, basically, because there's not much money in it. Having said that, there's a band, Sick Feel, a metal band out of Venezuela. They're doing quite well, relatively speaking, okay? They're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars by any means. But they're getting every 3 months, they're getting a nice little check, and that makes them happy because the dollar is more in Venezuela, where they come from. So really what Wolf Entertainment does is a promotion company for artists to, get more audience.
Right. Okay. We'll
And
talk about
what we will do, especially now starting in 2025, where artists can make money and will make money, is to take them on tour and on festivals.
and speaking of festivals and gaining a new audience, let's talk about the Festival of Love, which is where I originally became interested in what you're doing. And Bobby D, the evolution of him helping you with this, and also I understand he helped you build Wolf Entertainment from the beginning.
So what exactly, there's a wide range. What exactly do you want to talk about first?
Well, I wanted to focus on Bobby D, because I understand he's just been a huge help with almost everything that you've wanted to do so far.
But Bobby and me became friends first by me helping him, because he had a Facebook page called, and he still has it, and we're still working on that together, which is promotethemusic.com. I already was a couple of years or so, 3 years or so ahead of him. And when he started promotethemusic.com, and we started to get to know each other and share ideas how we would like to move forward and what we are doing, at some point I invited 4,000 or 5,000 people into his channel, into promotethemusic.com. And so I was very much part of promotethemusic.com to get off the ground. And so over the years, we worked on various things, various projects, and he helped me then promote some of our artists, and I helped him keep promotethemusic.com. And so that's how that started. We had and still have a really nice connection and friendship.
Whose idea, or how did the Festival of Love come about?
Yeah, it's actually called the Wave of Love Festival. If you look at WOLF, Wave of Love Festival is my name, Wolf. So I thought that was a good idea. And how it started was I had this idea about 10, 15 years ago when I watched the fireworks on New Year's and television going around the world. I thought, what if we would do a concert every hour in the next time zone, going around the world? And it had been only an idea in my head, and it kept popping up. I didn't do anything about it, kept popping up. And then after 10, 15 years of that, I was with some friends having a party in a garden. I thought, actually, now I already have everything it needs to put this together. I don't need to wait anymore for funding. I don't need to wait anymore for any support. I have everything I need. The main thing, though, is in order to put it together, I'm going to need Bobby D, because he is a webcaster, and then he does web video broadcasting, and he has all the know-how and the tools and the gear and stuff. So I called him up straight away. He was in Brazil. I was in the south of France, and said, "Hey, Bobby, I would like to do this, and would you help me with it?" And he thought about it maybe 20 seconds, and he said, "Yeah, why not? Let's do it." And that's how it started. And then I think I actually got the idea for the name Wave of Love Festival only afterwards, after we had decided to do this. And yeah, the idea is simply, you do a wave going around the world of music, which for me is an expression of love. So it's a Wave of Love Festival. And that's how that started.
I do want to give a shout out to Bobby D here, who recently had a heart attack.
Hey,
and
Bobby.
Is recovering. So much love to you, Bobby. Hope you recover soon. We miss you. And,
I speak to him quite often. I mean, I call him he calls me every few weeks, and we see how it's going. He's doing okay. He's now put a new thing together. He's actually making his own music with AI, and it's really good stuff that he's making. He
Yeah.
puts the text, the lyrics together, and it's really. And also now he's running it on 432 kilohertz instead of 440, which is all normal music. Normally, it's running on 440, but the original, the natural frequency of an A, the tone A, is actually 432. So it's 8 hertz lower than 440, and there's a lot of there's a whole movement going on around that people record music based on 432, and that's the natural vibration of our system, of our bodies,
Oh,
and he
okay.
does that. So very interesting. He's combining music together with the whole healing sphere that he is now using for himself to heal himself as well.
You brought up AI. What's your, as a working musician, how do you feel about the use of AI in music?
For me, I don't really mind. I don't really care so much about it. I still think if I go to a live concert, there will be no AI be able to, let's say, transmit the emotion that a real musician will transmit. Because when I play, I send my heart out through the instrument and the sound into the heart of the people. And
Right.
I guess what's kind of missing in the whole AI music is the heart, because they don't have one.
Well, enough of Hellmut Wolf and the business of music. Let's talk about the Wolfman, the musician and producer. So your first instrument was a flute. When did you pick up the saxophone?
Picked up the flute at 14 and played that in Koblenz in Germany, where I lived at that time, a couple of years. And I played it after a while. I played little gigs and stuff, nothing too wild. And then there was a local band, Stiebel Eltron, they were called, and they were serious players. They were Löschner, the guitarist, and Uli Kramer was the drummer. Really, really great players. And I was kind of fan of them. And they did jazz, rock jazz, funk jazz, fusion jazz kind of stuff. And so every time they had a gig, I was there, and they had a sax player. And then one day, they kicked out the sax player because he didn't show up for a concert.
Oh, man.
And then, to my big surprise, they came to me and asked me if I wanted to play in the band. And I was like, yeah. And I was completely blissed out about that, because I was, they were my heroes in the town. And for me to play with them was like more than a dream come true. And so I did that. And after a while of playing flute, they said they wanted me to also play sax. So, I'm in school at that time. So I bought an old beat up saxophone for $80 in this music shop, and just trial and error made it work. In the beginning, only mice came out, beep, beep. And, it took me a while to actually learn to get tone out of this thing. Funny things about that saxophone, 2 years later, after playing gigs, and I didn't do much recording, but mainly doing gigs, this other saxophone player in the town said, "Can I play on your horn?" It's a white thing. It was all from the French Revolution. I don't know where it was from. And he couldn't get one sound out of it. So I'd been playing on that thing for 2 years, making it work, and I had no lessons, so I didn't know what it was supposed to be doing. And he couldn't actually get a sound out of this old machine. And so I was with my father in Miami at that time, and there was a music shop my brother knew, and they had a whole room full of secondhand saxophones, and I bought an old Bishop for $170, and suddenly I could play so easily. So I realized that old thing that I've been, raping in order to get something out of it. It was really a really bad instrument, and suddenly I had an instrument that would work. But then Stiebel Elton kicked me out one day. I went to rehearsal, and they had we had a new keyboarder, Andy Breitscheid, brilliant keyboarder. He was a student of Luigi Nono, who is the top 12-tone musician composer at that time in Europe. And so he was like brilliant, absolutely brilliant, you know. And for him, I think also it was the fact that he was after me, and that didn't, I wasn't going there. So anyway, one day, whatever the reason was, one day I come to a rehearsal and the band is there and say, they're kicking me out because I'm not good enough. And that was really, really hard. And I remember walking away from there. I was maybe 16, 17 then. And with my flute under my arm, and I'm crying and almost throwing the flute away because it was really, really, upsetting. But I kept holding on to it. I remember holding on to it. And then I started a new band shortly after called Odds and Ends in the town. And the funny thing was, maybe 6 months, 8 months later, so there was a festival, and we played with Odds and Ends, and Stiebel Eltron played there too. And based on the audience reaction, we basically blew them away. So there was a nice little comeback for me.
Excellent. So explain how a German boy growing up, you said you grew up in West Germany?
Correct.
Oh, wow. I thought it was East Germany. Okay. So you were on the free side then.
On the so-called free side, yes, for sure.
So how did you end up in Australia from Europe?
Well, a few steps till then. I first went after high school and I finished. I went to Cologne, studied in Cologne. I lived in Cologne and Bonn. And in Cologne, I had a band called the Bullshit Band. And that was a kind of a really great rock troupe. 6 of us.
We'll get into that later here.
Okay. You want to talk? So I did Cologne. And then after Cologne, I moved to Bonn for a couple of years. And then I moved to Holland and lived about 10 years or so in Holland. And then at 33 years old, then I moved to Australia.
What pulled you there?
I had a studio in Holland, and I learned a lot of production there, basically trial and error. But I mean, I've been around the music scene, and by then quite a bit, and it was still 16-track. I had a 16-track tape machine and big desk and all of that stuff. But I really wanted to leave this place. I had been there for 10 years. It was kind of as I said, learn who you are, kind of spiritual growth community. And after 10 years of that, I wanted to basically live outside in the normal world. And I had a friend in Australia, Devendra, who had just or was in the process of building a recording studio in Byron Bay. And he basically hired me to come to Australia and be the in-house manager and one of the directors of the company.
Oh, okay.
And
wow.
So that's when I went to Australia. The bad thing was about it that the studio wasn't ready for another year after I arrived there. So,
oh my!
So basically, I was jumping on a job that didn't exist. So I had to make ends meet in Australia as well, and that basically I put a band together and then played the Byron Bay music scene. Okay. To move forward and to live.
You've always been interested in digital, and in 1987 you bought a Yamaha WX7, which was kind of cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, I didn't buy it. There was a friend of mine. No, actually it was different. I was in Geneva with my band, and we had a concert in Geneva, and I met this lady and hooked up with her, and then stayed 2 or 3 days with her in Geneva. And then I had a gig in Frankfurt 3 days later. So I flew up to stayed with her 3 days, didn't travel with the band, but flew up to Frankfurt and then finished that tour. And a few weeks later, I get a package from somebody I didn't know, which was the ex-husband of that lady, Hala was her name. And it basically said, look, I'm in the middle of recording a record, and I wanted you to be on the record because Hala told me you're really great. And so he sent me a synthesizer. He bought and sent me a synthesizer and a WX7. It was maybe a month before he then flew me over to London to record that on that album. So I had a month to practice on that instrument. And so yeah, I flew over to England, and that was big fun for me too. It was first time flying to England as German kid, flying over to England and recording in the most amazing studio you can imagine. This guy was very, very, very wealthy. A 96 channel SSL desk,
Holy
two
crap.
24 track machine, Sony tape machines, 2-inch machines, and they were working on an album there. And Steve Travell, who is a world-class producer from England, was producing it. That was also an interesting experience. It was just me recording. All the music was already done.
So you just came in to overdub your...
Just overdub stuff, yeah. And so it's just me in the booth with the producer. And on the first day of recording, it went all to shit. Nothing worked. Everything was terrible. Horrible, horrible, terrible, terrible. They worked me for 8 or 10 hours, and I couldn't get anything valuable out of me. And I was very, very upset and frustrated, and my old fear of not being good enough came back and all that stuff. And so I remember that guy, I slept in the studio, and he put on this tape from Lazarus, which is about self-worth, about appreciating who you are and stuff. Basically coming down to, whatever you do is a reflection of yourself, and that is God. That's brilliant. That's godly.
Right.
And so I don't know what I did. I just went to sleep listening to the stuff, and then next day back in the booth, first song, and one take, and bang, and the producer's like, great. And what I found out later from my friend Eamon, and we had become friends. We did many albums together after that over the years. He told me that Halla, his ex-wife, had hassled him, that she met this great sax flute player and he needs to have me on the album. And she hassled him so much to shut her up. He bought me that wind controller and synthesizer and flew me over to be on one song of the album.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Funny. But then I ended up to be on 10 of 11 songs of the album.
Nice.
Okay. After the first take clicked, then it was on. And it was really on. Still, I love this album to this day. And as I said, yeah, we have done many albums since together, and I produced. When I came back from Australia, I stayed with him and worked with him for a year and produced 2 albums for him. I also helped him to get his whole administration together because it was a mess. He passed away a couple of years ago. We spent a whole year then together to record 2 more albums, which are out there as well.
Excellent. I brought up the WX7 because it's prominently used in your song "Spring in Sydney."
Yeah, it's used there. I use it as a bass because I was blowing bass. Like right now, I don't have one. My last one that I had kind of gave up its ghost, so I haven't bought one since. But so I use when I need a bass line, I just do it on the keyboard. But back then, when I still had the WX7, I used to blow bass lines. And Spring in Sydney, I did the bass line with the WX7 and obviously the solo.
for lack of a better term. You're unique as a record mogul.
Anything but a mogul.
But you have a lot of interest, new wave, R&B, rap, country, rock, heavy metal. I mean, what attracts you to an artist that makes you want to sign them?
It's true that on Wolf Entertainment I have many genres, as you just mentioned. I think what makes me sign somebody is the quality of his music, of his production, and in that sense I don't judge what genre it is. Like, let's say Sick Feel from Venezuela, for example. They're full-on death metal band, okay, but they're technically and they're fantastic players. So a lot has to do with the quality of the production and the quality of the playing. If they are really great players, and their heart is in the music, and that's basically it for me. And this, the second thing is I need to get along with them on a personal level. I need to kind of build some kind of personal relationship that we both, kind of supporting each other.
Right. Well, I've noticed you don't sign any assholes, because everyone I've talked to that you've pointed me to has been super friendly and gracious, which is awesome. So you've got a fold of very unique and loving musicians, which is just awesome.
Yeah, I'm very happy and very lucky and very blessed with the team that we have. Very, very, very blissed out, and I can't wait now that we actually for the first time in this year will have some funds to put them on the road to do that.
Nice.
Also to pay them back for the love and the trust that they have given me, because they haven't made there's not much money in streaming. We spoke about that, and they haven't made a lot of money with me in putting their music out there, but they still want to work with me, and they're still loyal, and they're still on my side and working with me, and I so appreciate that. And I can't wait to be able to give them back also on a monetary side, and getting them to tour and getting them out there and really lift them in a bigger way than I was able to do that before.
Excellent. You also collaborate with some of the musicians that you've signed, and one is personally one of my favorite instruments is a didgeridoo. And Gummeroy? Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. And that song Australia, which is fantastic. How'd you come across him?
There's a friend of mine in Sydney, and I was recording her, and forget it, I don't even get her name right now. It'll come to me. So I was recording her, and she wanted to have a didgeridoo on her recording. And so she introduced Gummeroy to me. And when we were finished with recording him and what we were doing for her production, I asked him if he would just give me a 10 minutes jam. And I just put, I think it was 140 beats per minute, and just let him jam on that, basically click tempo from the computer. That was the basis for Australia.
Oh, wow. So it's all just all built around a beat.
It did.
That's
It's been
excellent.
built around a ditch. Once I had the ditch, I was just putting the beat around it, and then I put some chords around it, and then I put the harmonies and the melody on top, and mixed it all together.
That brings me, you also have a lot of influences in your music that you put out yourself. And one of the ones that I'm thinking of, and is probably my favorite production of yours, is called Quiet Days in Clichy.
Clichy. Quiet Days and Clichy is just a title I came up with. There's a funny story to this. Okay. The basic beat that you hear in that song, the basic track, I made that up, and I had Sean O'Brien Smith on bass.
Yes, amazing bass player.
He's brilliant. And if you ever get a chance to listen to his music, I've got a bunch of his albums. He's absolutely brilliant. And then there's Emil Sam Velasquez is on keyboards, and there's Frank Steffen Müller on guitar. And we put this track together, and I have this friend. He runs an orphanage in Uganda, and I have helped him over the years, send him money when I can now and then, and he's running this orphanage for kids that whose parents have died from AIDS, basically. He's got 20-30 kids there. And I had this idea to put a track together and then send the kids with the track into a recording studio and let the kids sing the song, which we had written the words for, and then mix it all together and release it. But it just didn't work. What the kids recorded, I mean, I spent hours and days on this trying to tune it and fix it, and it was so terrible that it just was not possible to do this. Maybe one day I'll still do it if I get a chance to go down there and actually work with the kids, because I know if I would be directing them, I could get something out of them which would be okay on the recording. But
so you actually have lyrics for the song, but didn't use them?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And but the backing track, the actual track, was so good that at some point I thought, oh, forget it. I just got to put some melodies and stuff on it, and some sax and some flutes, and then that's what I did.
That's excellent tune, man. Like I said, the production on that is amazing. Where was that recorded?
Well, it was recorded in my studio, and Sean sent me the bass line from the States, and Emil Sam sent me the keyboards from the States, from Miami or from Florida, and Frank lives in Germany. So they sent me their tracks, and I put it all together.
Excellent.
I did all the drums and percussion and all of that stuff, and a bunch of chords as well. And then I just put some saxes and some flutes on there.
Another collaboration I'd like to talk about, and unfortunately this is a group that is no longer working or doing anything, but is World Funk Society. And that song, and the interpretation of Pick Up the Pieces.
Yeah, Pick Up the Pieces also has Rafael Picorelli. He is still on the label. Emerson Velasquez, he recently left. He wanted his catalog back to, I don't know what he's doing with it, but anyway, he's left the label with his own stuff. Frank is still with us. So it's also Frank Steffen Miller and Emerson Velasquez and Rafael Picorelli and myself and on saxes. And I mixed it and mastered it.
Oh, okay.
I think Emerson might have mastered it. I mixed it. Not sure anymore.
You don't need a partner, no time to dance, or just wiggle that body and shake it like you just don't care. I don't need to worry, honey, I won't tell you, man, 'cause if he ain't with you, girl, then you won't understand. Just let the rhythm take you away. I'll get with the feeling. Oh, what we say, what we say, what we say. I'll get with the feeling. Oh, what we say. Hey, there's a party over here, there's a party over there. We're gonna have a good time, people flying in from everywhere. So come join the party, we're gonna rock around the clock. We're gonna rock it from the bottom, but we're never gonna stop it, 'cause we really don't give it down. So come join the party, come along and bring a friend. We're gonna party all day, gonna party all night, and the party gonna never end. Hey party people, better get in line. One starts at midnight, and it's about that time. Hey, 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 there's a party, yeah. Little party, oh, there's a party going on. Pick up the pieces.
So who brings up the idea of a collaboration?
Depends. Totally depends. I mean, there's so many. I've played in so many different collaborations. It depends. Often is that, like for example, with the whole album, "The City Never Sleeps" with Tom Cloverfield,
Yes.
who is a brilliant German producer. Um, that whole album was done by him doing the tracks, sending me the tracks, and then I played some sax and flute on it and mixed it together and mastered it, and that was it.
Right, and that's a project that has Sandbank.
Sandbank is on there, yes.
Beautiful tune.
Thank you. And then, for example, there's Snow and Heat, which I did with a friend from Russia, Pavel Stepanovsky, who is a brilliant bass player, and he did the whole backing track, all the backing tracks for that. And again, I did the flute and saxes and mixed it and mastered it. So it depends. I have one track, for example, with Oba Simba, who is a reggae singer from Jamaica. And there was just one song that I did a collaboration with him. He did the song, and I just recorded sax on it. So it depended what it was, you know.
Well, since you play two instruments, the flute and sax, are you also a collector of these instruments?
I have at the moment 2 flutes, one tenor, 2 altos, and 2 sopranos. So it's not like I walk around and collect these things all the time. Sometimes I come across something, and it's like actually my friend Dr. Tini. He was a very, very important person in my life. We grew up together in Koblenz and we were in the same school, and he was also a sax player. And, he was the one guy who stayed friends with me all my life. He came to visit me many times in Holland, and he came to visit me always in Australia, always when I was in Germany. I stayed with him, and so we stayed really close friends till he passed on maybe 4 years ago now, something like that. He's my age. He had cancer. And he left me his car as an inheritance, and he also left me an alto and a soprano. So that's why I have 2 altos and 2 sopranos, you know.
Nice. So is there a holy grail instrument that you'd like to have, or that you kind of lust over?
Yes. One day, and that's on my bucket list, one day I want to have a golden flute.
Oh,
I've never played one. There are flutes that are either gold-plated or actually mainly gold. I think they have some other metal in it, otherwise it's too soft. And I've never played one, but I've seen it. First time I saw one, I was maybe 12 years old, because back then my music teacher in Koblenz always gave me, that's Mr. Neumann. And he gave me always free tickets on Wednesdays to go to the State Symphony Orchestra and listen to Beethoven and Mahler and Bach and Beethoven and Liszt and all these composers. And I loved to listen to symphony orchestra. Every Wednesday I went there. He always gave me a free ticket. So, and the flute player of that orchestra had a golden flute. There were 2 flute players in that orchestra, and when they had a break and they walked out, they always left their flute and instruments, whatever, flute lying on the chair. And I used to stand in front of the stage and stare at that flute. So one day I would like to have a golden or gold-plated, or whichever way they do it, flute. That's one of my bucket list. And the other thing is, I've never really played on a Selma. One day I want to have a really good Selma. So that's maybe, if you ask that question, that are the 2 things that are on my bucket list.
Nice. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. And I'd like to talk about the band you were in called the Bullshit Band. How old were you when you were in this?
Ah,
That's a great name for a group, by the way.
yeah. I was maybe when it started around 20.
Wow.
I had just moved to Cologne, and I had just started to study at the university. I studied philosophy, German literature, theater, film, and television science. And
Nice.
it's just hanging out, meeting people, jamming and stuff. And then I walked into the Bullshit Band, and they asked me if I wanted to join them. So that's how I started with the Bullshit Band. And there's two brothers. The guitarist and the drummer were brothers. And then I had a bass player, had a female singer, had a keyboarder, and myself. And then what we did, that was big fun for me. In the summertime, they have in Germany, they have all the city festivals, on the city marketplace with bands and all kind of stuff. And we had next to the band, we had also an 8-piece acrobatics troupe. There were acrobatics and fire eaters and that kind of stuff. And so while we were performing at these marketplaces in all over, mainly South Germany, they were doing their performances, and we were on the road for a few weeks at a time each time, which was big fun for a young kid like me.
Right. So what brings you the most satisfaction? Performing live or producing or recording a great song?
Hard to say. I love them both. I think the playing live is probably another level for me, especially also because I'm a wind instrument player. So when you play a 2-hour concert and you blow for 2 hours, you get an absolute high just for having so much oxygen in your body. And that's really like in the studio. Okay, you do one take or you do 2 takes, then you listen to it.
Right.
And you maybe want to do another take. Although most of the time, 95% of my recordings is 1 take. But when you have breaks in between, you listen to it, you would do whatever. So you don't get this air input like you get when you playing live. And the high on a live gig is uncomparable.
So speaking of live, what was the worst situation that you were in?
That's a great question. I'll never forget it. When I lived in Holland, as I said, there was kind of a commune for, find out who you are kind of commune. And I was running workshops all over Europe. I was running workshops, emotional release workshops and encounter workshops and sexuality groups. But I was also running creativity workshops. And it was basically for people who had wanted to have a creative outlet all their life and never had the opportunity, or they were too scared or anything like that. And so I ran sometimes these 48-hour workshops where people got together and they say, I play a little bit of keyboard and I know a little bit of dancing and I know. So we took what they had or what they could do, and we out of that put a little show together. Okay. Usually we invited them at the end of the show, invited their friends or family, whatever, maybe 20, 30, 50, 80 people or so, depending of where it was. And we performed the show. Everybody happy, hunky-dory. Now, at that time, I was in Oslo running a creativity workshop like this. And the person who organized this workshop, Norwegian guy, forgot his name, crazy guy. He was a pilot. He used to fly he was a drug dealer. He used to fly down to Amsterdam and get a few kilos of hash and fly back to Norway.
Oh my God.
Anyway, he booked me and our little creativity workshop troupe for National Day. The Norwegians have their National Day, which is a big thing for them, in the Rockefeller in Oslo. Rockefeller is the biggest rock club in Oslo.
Right.
To perform. Okay? Now, before us, and I don't even know how he possibly could have made us to become the headliner. He must have told them some bullshit. But before us played the band, the Heavy Gentlemen, 13-piece, fantastic. Saxes, trumpets, trombone. I mean, they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I watched them and I was just like, oh shit, this is not good. So after that, we set up our little troupe. The guy on the drums was a speed freak. He basically fell off the drum kit during the first gig. We had two girls singing backing vocals who were so nervous they almost peed in their pants, and they completely sang everything as off-key and as wrong as you possibly can. I mean, it was a disaster. It was worse than a disaster. It was like really bad. After two trials of doing, and I'm standing in front of this disaster, playing my lungs out, trying to get anything that it's somehow okay. And I looked at the people while I was playing, and they're like, how the fuck did these people get in here? Who are they? What is going on? After the second song, so-called song, the owner comes to front of stage, calls me over and says, I think you're making a fool out of yourself. I think it's time that you go. And I said, we'll do one more, at least three. You can't got off stage over. And it was even worse. So it was like bad, like what, really nothing but bad. And when we were finished with that, there was no reaction. They didn't even boo. It was so bad that they just couldn't even understand what just happened. And I remember walking off the stage saying to myself, well, that's a tick. That was definitely the worst gig in my whole life, in this lifetime, I will ever have. So I don't have to be afraid of any gig anymore, because it will never, ever get worse than this one. And I walked backstage, and the Heavy Gentlemen were sitting there and like, who are you people? What the fuck is going on?
That's awesome.
So that's that story.
Oh, gosh. Music is all about love and having a good time, or at least it should be. And I want to talk about the song Tequila. Now, who's all on that track? Okay, there's a bass player in Melbourne. I don't remember his name. That bass is a, what do you call it? A standing bass, like... stand-up?
A contrabass, a stand-up bass. And I wanted to have a contrabass on that track, and there was a guitarist from Melbourne, and I forgot his name too. So I had these two guys, and there's the guy who rapped. He's a rapper from Melbourne, and I did the rest.
Nice. So it's all Australian artists.
That's all Australian artists, yeah.
Excellent.
Going out and we're gonna get drunk. Everybody drinking up and we're gonna run amok. But I'm driving, man, shut the fuck up. We'll pile in the maxi cab, just chill. Come on, man, we'll hit the club. Put on our player faces, stepped in the joint and we all different races. Saturday night fever and I'm Tony. Kisses and hugs, handshakes if you know me. Straight to the bar, is my next move. I started with a splice, then moved to jungle juice. I mix and match, fuck it, even with the cream. Had a mudslide followed by a golden dream. Black Russian, yeah, then a velvet hammer. And when that guy bumped me, I said, watch your manners. Cosmos, like on Sex in the City. And after two of them I had a smooth lady. I turned to my boys and they was acting delirious. They was drinking something that was buzzing them serious. They poured me a shot and said, Sculler bro. I shot it down, it burned my throat like Nero. One other drink and I've been missing this shit. And with it in mind I made my move real quick. What's up girl, one question, is you single? She said maybe, if you buy me a free tingle. I moved closer and said girl, I feel you, but the only thing we should be drinking is tequila. on my way to Pecan. Pour another shot, yeah, freaking what up, cuz? Is you gonna have a shot? Yeah. 2 tequilas, please, with the lemon and the salt. Let's get the party started, cause the night's still young. No more cocktails, cause I think I'm in love with the tech. Q-U-I-L-A, and it's getting me D-R-U-N-K. Can you feel it? I'm feeling it, man. It's like a dream. I can feel the algae pumping through my bloodstream. Chick try to pick me up, I said, watch yourself. Just tequila is my girl, and she'll knock you out. 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila, 4. I'm shooting them down, man. Line up some more. Let's hit the dance floor, cause the party's jumping. Oh shit, I feel my stomach rumbling. Try to dance it off, but it only gets worse. I think that tequila has given me a curse. While you fucking with me, baby, all I ever did was loved you. I told you how I feel, ain't nobody above you. She slapped me out, I fell to the floor. She said, I'm a player, baby, and I'm not just yours. My boys picked me up, they could see I was shattered. They rushed me to the toilets, and that's when I splattered. I let it go up in here. I ain't drinking alcohol for the next fucking year. I'm out of here, straight up, man, this ain't a joke. Fuck the tequila, I think I'll drink coke. Tequila.
At that time, I was Australian too. Yeah.
Australian with a German accent.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I was actually Australian, and I had, not knowing that the Germans didn't do dual citizenship, when I got, after 2 years waiting to get my Australian passport, they kept my German passport, and suddenly I was not German anymore. That was kind of weird. But still, I mean, the Aussies, when they say, where do you come from? I'm from Germany. Oh, we don't talk about the war. So there's still an enormous amount of, let's say, racism, reversed racism. So I copped a lot of shit in Australia for being German.
Right.
Even though I was Australian.
Another fun track I'd like to talk about is one you did with Cloverfield, and is Keep on Moving.
Yeah, well, again, Tom did the whole backing track, and then I did the so-called vocals, and the sax, I think, is on there, yeah. So, yeah, John, we did always the same. He sent me the track, I put some sax on it, and then this track I also put some vocals on it. So I'm not a singer, but I just gave it a shot in this track.
you know, and at our age, we're not much for going out to dance clubs and stuff. But this kind of song kind of reminds me of something that you would run into in a little club. So have you ever been into an establishment and heard one of the songs that you've been involved in?
Yeah, it happened a few times. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
I also did a thing in Sydney. When I lived in Sydney, I quite often played in dance clubs. So I was working with the DJs. They were doing the dance music, whatever, and I was just jamming on top of that, which I really enjoy because you can really just send the energy into the room and lift it up.
Yes. As I was going through your discography, I'm sure there's better, but one that I've come across with an amazing sax solo is with Rebus and the song Zone. How did you meet Rebus? How did that collaboration come around?
That's this Russian guy from Pavel Stepanovsky. How that happened, I think that was before Wolf Entertainment. In one of the other labels I was working before, I was releasing some of his stuff because I was doing A&R in the first label I was working in, and then second one I was running it. So I was working with artists all the time, and I think that's how I met him. And we released some of his music back then, and we got to know each other. And then when I started Wolf Entertainment, we stayed in touch, and we're still in touch.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, like
really
I said,
great guy.
that's
Really
a
fantastic guy.
Yeah, that's a fantastic sax solo on that. So kudos.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
right. Well, we discussed a little bit about the merger with Black Wall Street, but what does 2025 look like for Wolf Entertainment?
As I said, really focusing on getting our artists live on stage. We want to do festivals, we want to do touring. We're right now in the process of raising money, and when we have that settled, then we want to run our own festivals, and we want to then bring in our own artists to those festivals.
And this is what you call a Wave of Love too?
No, the Wave of Love Festival is something I'm also working on.
Is this also going to be online again?
Well, what I want to do this time, I mean, the first one was 23 concerts in 22 countries over 23 hours as the time goes around the world. And we were just, some of them were live, but this was during COVID. And so it was very difficult. Some of them although it had been planned to record them, to perform them live, some of them was possible, and some of them actually are live and were live, and some of them had been pre-recorded because the venues had been closed in the countries because of COVID.
Right.
So this time, instead of going by the hour into the next time zone, what the plan is, what we want to do is have 6 concerts of 4 hours, or let's say 5 concerts of 4 hours, and the last one is, which will be in Los Angeles, 6 hours. So you're starting in New Zealand, in Auckland, with a 4-hour concert. And then when it's midnight in New Zealand and that 4-hour concert is finished, we're going to Malaysia and doing a 4-hour concert there. And like this, go around the world. And then, as I said, the Los Angeles part, the finale, the grand finale will be 6 hours. So really, it will make sense for me only if we can do this in style this time, because the first time we did it by the bare bones and with no money and just never-ending work. And I am talking to various people right now, and hopefully we can get the finances together to do it right and do it in football stadiums, and have in each of the stadiums a major act, and I'm talking a major act, then have a second-tier act, and then to fill up the rest of the 4 hours in each concert, I want to have Wolf Entertainment artists on these stages. So imagine you have a concert, one is, and I don't want to say we have booked her or anything like this, no, but that's the dream. On one concert you have Lady Gaga, on one concert you have the Stones, and one concert you have Taylor Swift, whatever. Some of these top acts in one of the concerts. And I have a very dear friend in Australia, Sam Riggy, and only because I have his connection, is a little bit like with Bobby D. I could do the first one only because I had Bobby D on my side. This vision that I have on this version of the next Wolf, I can do only because I have Sam Riggy on my side. And he is one of the biggest concert promoters in Australia. He has, for 35 years, toured the biggest acts on the planet in Australia and Southeast Asia. And he knows all of these people. He knows them by working with them for many years. And he doesn't talk to the agents of them, he talks to the management. It doesn't have to even go. See, if I wanted to book Lady Gaga and I go to the agent, they would just crack up and say, who the hell are you?
Right.
And he doesn't have to go talk to the agents. He talks to the management. And he can, that way, introduce the idea to the artist.
Excellent.
So that's my dream. Now, I've spoken to him. I need about $200 million to put this together. To have 6 football stadiums with 6 major acts and 6 second-tier acts, and I'm thinking in terms of Kool and the Gang, and acts like that, which are not like massive top, but just one underneath,
right.
And then the Wolf Entertainment artists. So, or related labels like Moafa Records artists and so on. So that's what I would love to do, and that's on my bucket list before I die. hopefully I get it together this year. I would love to do it in October. I am talking to some people who have the funds, who are interested. And if I get the funding, and when I get the funding, then Sam Riggy will do all of this for me, because he has, in all the different cities where we are going to be working and doing these shows, he already has teams that will do all of the work, the equipment, the gear, the marketing, all of that.
Nice. So he's got the infrastructure to actually pull
set
this
up.
off.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Without him, I don't see right now how I possibly could do it. But he said to me, "You get the money together, I'll do it for you." So that's where we're sitting with that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we did like over the sum how it's going to work. If and when we get this together, we probably need 200 million to make it happen, but we'll make 300-400 million on profit, and so we can use that money again to uplift what we are doing, and then go for further festivals. We also want to do just touring and festivals in Africa, in South America. Got a bunch of great acts in Venezuela, so I'm going to be touring them. Want to do a Wolf Entertainment special festival in Venezuela we're working on, do one in Europe at least. So working on various projects like this, but the Wave of Love Festival is going to be a big one. And I really would like to use that concept of a wave of love going around the planet, and use the music, the concept of the music, and the heart and the love of the music, so we can wash away the bullshit that's going on our planet.
Right.
And that's the drive behind it, really.
So is that also the drive behind what you do? I mean, is there a main goal in why you have Wolf Entertainment? Is it just about love? Love of music?
Yeah, I mean, what else am I going to do? You know, I love music and I love working with the artists, and it's something that I love doing, you know. I mean, I'm now 67 and I'm officially a pensioner. I get 43 euros pension from Germany and 155 from Holland because I worked there in Holland. So I have to keep going. I can't just sit there and do nothing. But I'm also happy about this. I'm going to be doing what I'm doing right now till I kick the bucket, because I love what I'm doing. I really love what I'm doing. So I'm getting up in the morning and I'm excited. I help young musicians. I help young artists. I have a lot of friends all over the world. And what else do you want to do? I see many pensioners, many people who, you know, they finish working and they don't have anything that excites them, and before you know it, they just die.
Right.
Now I'm going to be dying loving what I'm doing.
Die with a saxophone in your hand, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine worse things than, you know, blowing the horn and keeling over.
Excellent. Well, before we end it here, what is something that you'd like to say to all your artists and fans of Wolf here?
Well, first to the fans, to anybody who is looking what we're doing, thank you so very, very, very much that you even take notice of what we're doing, and the support that we have been receiving over the years and still do receive. So thank you for all of you being there and you know, supporting us by listening to our music, and some of you even buy our music. Hallelujah. So thank you. And in terms of the artists, I think a lot of our Wolf Entertainment artists, what will happen over this next couple of years, they will make a massive jump. And I need you to be ready. I need you to be ready for big stages. I need you to be ready to be doing killer performances when we have the opportunity to go out there and show the world what you can do.
Excellent.
So that's what I've been talking to a lot of the people that I'm in the back of my mind planning to have in these bigger shows. Get out there and practice. And even if you don't have right now the big gigs, you will have the big gigs. So practice, practice, practice. Get ready, get ready, get ready.
Awesome. Let's take over the world, Wolf.
I'm not into taking it over, because It's a weird concept for me, but what I do want to do is I want to be part of instilling more consciousness and more love to our world so we can actually live in this paradise that it could be, which is right now ravaged by greed and bullshit and politics and just terrible, terrible unconsciousness. So I really want to uplift the spirit and the awareness of the people of this planet, because again, we all could live together in a great paradise if we could get rid of the greed and the unawareness.
That was the one and only Hellmut Wolf. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of What's My Name. It was enjoyable talking to the man behind all of this. Huge thank you to my brother from another mother, down under, Benjamin Ballen-Gary. Your friendship has been the catalyst for me to dip my toes back into this business of music after a 20-year vacation. Thank you, brother. You can find the music of Hellmut Wolf at wolfentertainment.de. Click on the catalog section and you can find his as well as all the other artists that he represents right there. I strongly encourage you to download songs from these artists because that really is the only way they make money. Spotify and all that is good, which these artists are also on, but they only make pennies. So I strongly encourage you to download. Thank you once again for tuning in to What's My Name? My name is Don Bown, and I'm here to remind you that music is the spice of life. So don't be so damn bland.